Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about biological men in women's sports. So recently in the Olympics, two biologically male athletes are competing in women's boxing. And I put out a couple Facebook posts, not really giving my opinion, just kind of reposting someone else's article. The first time it was from ESPN Africa, and the second time it was from the Daily Wire. The only thing I did was put an emoji where I've got my hand on my head, kind of like, how stupid is this? And I was attacked by people saying it was slander and misinformation and several things, which I then asked them to give me one example where something I said or the article was slanderous or had misinformation, and they couldn't give me an example. Had some very fair people that gave me their compassionate perspective on the issue. Had a lot of people that were kind of attacking me, saying I was a judging Christian, so judging me as a judgy Christian, when I didn't say anything about Christianity, and that had nothing to do with the story. It was about women's sports. And of course, you guys know the story. They went on to both win the gold medal. So the two people that I said were biologically male went on to both win the gold medal. What are the odds? Shocker. Now these boxers, the best we understand, are intersex. They're not transgendered, and they were either born with female genitalia or maybe both, we're not sure, but we'll just say female genitalia, and then their chromosomes are XY chromosomes, which make them biologically a male. And of course the advantage, them over women, comes down to their chromosomes at a biological level, not whether they have a penis or a vagina. So that's pretty obvious, right? In 2023, the IBA, the governing body over the World Championships, disqualified these two boxers, saying they did not pass gender tests. And then later they've come out and said they have XY chromosomes. Now the Olympics, of course, only goes by testosterone levels and what it says on your passport. So it's been a big controversy. But like I said, of course they won gold. Just like when William Thomas was ranked 462nd in the world as a swimmer in men's swimming, he transitioned to a woman, become Leah Thomas, became ranked number 1, and won the world championships in the 400 meter. Or like when the 203rd ranked tennis player beat Serena and Venus Williams in back-to-back one-set matches, when they're two of the greatest female tennis players of all time, and I would say Serena is undoubtedly the best female tennis player of all time. Being a biological male gives you an advantage over biological women. It's that simple, it's that clear. It's about sports. It's about standing up for women and women's sports. Anybody with common sense understands this. That's the whole point of separating men and women's sports, so you can have women's sports. A good example would be the NBA and the WNBA. There's a reason that they're two different leagues. And frankly, if you put them together, there might be a handful, if any, women that could actually compete at a high level with men. Women in professional basketball would cease to exist. And so if you're a college athlete or, growing up and wanting to go to college and hoping to play professional women's sports, you're going to want them to keep biological men out of your sport, so there continues to be a professional women's sport, in whatever sport it might be. For those who might disagree with me, let me ask you this question. Should any man, whether it's intersex, transgender, or just any man, regardless of any of these issues, be allowed to play in women's sports just because they say I'm a woman? If you answered yes to that, I don't think you've thought it through, because it will literally probably end in the end of women's sports. More and more people, in my opinion, without integrity, are going to go play in women's sports and dominate and give whatever excuse. And the intersex excuse is a little different. That's how they were born. But the trans issue, or just somebody saying, no, I'm not trans, but I just want to play in women's sports. Don't be prejudiced against me. Let me do that. Anyone like that, you're literally going somewhere where you have a clear advantage. And so if that happens, more and more people, there's a lot of people in this world that will take advantage of that, And biological men at the professional athlete level are going to dominate biological women. There will cease to be women in women's sports unless they go some DEI route where they make the league have 50% women or something like that. And if they did that, first of all, that begs the question, what is a woman? We don't seem to be articulate in explaining what a woman is. You know, it changes depending on who you're talking about. You'd also have to change the rules to somehow favor those who aren't as athletically talented, and then you've basically destroyed the sport. So there's no way letting all or any biological man in women's sports that just wants to, there's no way you could answer yes to that question, and I hope you didn't. So anyone with common sense would answer no to that question, right? So then the question is, well, who should be allowed? My answer is, if you have an XY chromosome, you went through puberty, you are a biological man, and you have an unfair advantage, okay? It's real simple. That should be the standard to keep women's sports going and fair. Now, if you say, well, I'm okay with instances like Khalif in boxing or Thomas in swimming, I'm okay with instances like that. Well, what's the difference? Why allow those people but not everybody? So hopefully you admit that if you allow everybody, it will destroy the sport. There won't be any women's sports anymore. So why would you allow some? It literally makes no sense to me. Of course, people on the left that defend this always treat people on the right like they have no compassion, like they're just jerks, right? What about the women? Like, you're focusing in on one person, Leah Thomas, this boxer, these boxers in women's Olympic boxing. You're focusing on just them and acting like we need to show compassion to them. What about all the other women that are biological women, don't have an unfair physical advantage, but can't, you know, are at a disadvantage when it comes to winning the gold medal or breaking a record or being the #1 in the sport because they're a biological woman? What about all them? Where's the compassion toward them? And when we have debates on these type of topics or arguments, it just becomes I'm team right and you're team left, and I'm literally going to just debate whatever you say and go against any point you make to try and win the debate or to try and make you look stupid, instead of really getting down to the root cause of the issue and what's really right and fair to most people. Like, one thing that's been going around is you can't trust the IBA, they're Russians. They're Russians, you can't trust them. They haven't presented all their evidence. You can't trust them. We are with the IOC, the Olympic Committee, but not the IBA. Are you literally insinuating that the IBA lied? That they don't have XY chromosomes? And that they lied, disqualified them from a world championship because they just didn't like the way they looked? If that's what you're insinuating, first of all, that's crazy. But we'd all like to know, right? So the easiest way to debunk that is to swab their mouth and do another test. You could do it, you could get the swab in 5 minutes. If you're literally saying that they're lying and we can't trust them, that could be debunked in 1 day. In 1 day, you could debunk that. Yet, nobody's racing to do that. These two biological male boxers in the Olympics didn't appeal that disqualification. Khalif did, supposedly, and then backed out of it. Like, if I knew that I had X chromosomes and someone disqualified me from the world championships saying I had something else, I'd be all over the place. I'd want every news camera on me. I'd want every test done to show people that that's wrong. And once again, the International Olympic Committee could do the same thing. They're not doing it because they know that's the truth, and they're trying to make it about something else. This shouldn't be a transgender issue, whether you're for transgenderism or against it. This is definitely not a Christian issue, whether you're for or against it. This should be a women's sports issue, and what is fair for women's sports. So I just want to make this video. There are a lot of things where I definitely see my point, but I see my opponent's point, or I see someone who just disagrees with me. And I can definitely see at least where they're coming from. This is one of those issues that's so mind-boggling to me. I can't even understand how you could think it's okay for a biological man to play in women's sports. I just don't get it. And sadly, I'd say 95% of the people that are defending this position are women. Seems like very few men think this is okay. Anyway, comment below if I'm right, if I'm wrong, if you agree, disagree. Let's have a civil discourse. Let's not play team left against team right. Let's play, here are facts, here's what I believe, and let's go from there. But anyway, until next time, take care.